Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.
Good evening and welcome to the Neenah School Board Candidates Forum. This evening's event is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Winnebago County and the Fox Cities Advocates for Public Education. Thank you to the members of both organizations for your time and effort in planning this forum. Tonight's questions have been submitted by citizens in the community. The League reserves the right to choose and edit questions. We try to use questions from as many different people as possible. We encourage those whose questions were not used to reach out to the candidates on their own. A recording of this forum will be publicly available on YouTube within the next few days. I'm Peggy Cox, and I will be your moderator for the forum, and this is Debbie Dreyer. She's going to be our timer. Welcome to our candidates. On my left is Lindsay Clark, Tom Hanby, Brian Ray, Rocky Schaefer, Michelle Swadensky, and Deborah Watry. Sorry.
So close.
Real close? Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Okay. We will begin with candidates having 2 minutes to introduce themselves and provide background on why they wish to serve on the Board of Education. We previously determined the starting speaker through a random choice, and that will be Lindsay Clark. So please go ahead, Lindsay.
Thank you. Thank you to the League for having us tonight and for all of you that have joined us. The weather was a little bit nicer tonight, so that was good. My name is Lindsay Clark. I am a wife and mother of 2. I have 2 daughters who are 3 and 1. I'm a stay-at-home mom, but I also work part-time as a marketing consultant, operating my own freelance business. I graduated with my master's degree in marketing and nonprofit leadership when I was pregnant with my first daughter. One of the unique qualities I feel that I can bring to the board is my dedication to families and community. In college, I started a nonprofit organization with my sister aimed at advocating for organ, eye, and tissue donation. Over the last decade, we have grown that organization to serve families here and across the state of Wisconsin. As a co-founder, I manage a large operating budget, work one-on-one with community leaders, and directly help families in need of transplant. I want to take that same passion I have for serving families and community and bring it to the school board. I'm running because I want to be involved with my girls' education and bring positive family-focused initiatives to the district. I will be a voice for parents in our community, and I will work to give our students and teachers the proper resources to raise test scores, improve literacy and math rates, and achieve academic excellence. I will work to help advance mental health initiatives in our schools and make sure safety is a top priority. I will ensure we are hiring and retaining the best teachers and ensuring that we're giving students with IEPs the tools they need to succeed. I will fight for improved community input between the board and the taxpayers and ensure the district is keeping costs down by making financial decisions in the best interest of all students. My husband and I started our family here. Neenah is home to us and our girls, and I would be incredibly honored to serve this community. Thank you.
Okay. Tom?
Good evening. I'm Tom Hamby. Thanks everybody for coming. First thing I'd like to do is thank the League of Women's Voters for doing this. I've been coming around since they were the Neenah League of Women's Voters, and I appreciate the effort that they put into this every year. This is a great opportunity for our board and all the groups they do it for, as well as our community. The other thing is the advocates for public education. Everybody who's here cares. So if you didn't get one of these slips, please do. Pick one up and then scan the little barcode things on the bottom, which I don't actually know how to do, but I have seen the presentation. It's really good. It tells an awful lot about school finance and the situation that we're in. So a shout out to that group for the excellent work that they're doing for our community. To be honest with you, our staff does so much. The thing is, I'm kind of a crummy politician. I like to be a good person and a good advocate for our community, but being a politician and touting why I'm the very best one for it is not up my alley, so I apologize for that. But the really great things that are going on around us, I just want to be a part of that and help it advance it. I am an incumbent, so I've served my 3 years now, and previously in, I think, 07, 08, I'd filled a vacancy for about a year. I have been coming around to our board meetings diligently now for about 20 years. I seldom have missed a meeting of the whole for the regular board meeting, and then now I'm doing my part on committee meetings. So I think that's great. To mirror my opponent or my fellow candidate, that the goal to me is that we have a transparent situation with a very open dialogue between our community and our board and our district. To me, that's a very important thing that really enables us to do the work that we do and do it effectively, represent our group. So thank you very much for your time and for coming this evening and showing interest in what we do.
Brian Ray?
My thanks to League of Women Voters for hosting this forum, the invitation to speak. My name is Brian Ray, and my number one priority in my personal life is that of my children. As a school board member, my priority would always be for the children in the Neenah School District. I believe that education starts at home, and is only through a strong relationship between families and educators that students can be given the tools to excel in life. The goal of education should not be the memorization of information, the training of the mind to think. With that core principle, I will strive to empower the student, parent, teacher, team to engineer environments that will allow individual students to develop into mature adults that will have a positive impact on society. Another area of focus I have is on student mental health. These formative years can be difficult to navigate under the best of circumstances. Couple this with the impacts of COVID lockdowns, our children have not had an easy time. We could do better than having an assembly once or twice a year to address mental health. I would like to see a program where students have an opportunity to learn and ask questions about a variety of areas, from bullying, test anxiety, peer pressure, or whatever else is upsetting them. I truly believe that a program like this would have a direct positive impact on violence, drug use, as well as overall scholastic achievement. As with everything else, these conversations should start at home, but the conversations should not stop at your front.
Okay, Rocky Schaefer?
First off, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for holding this event and all you guys coming out. My name is Rocky Schaefer. I was born and raised in Neenah School District. This is where I met my wife. We have 5 kids. Next year, I will have 2 at the elementary, 1 at the middle, and then 1 at the high school. My youngest is going to be 2, and she will definitely be in the school system at 4K level when that's presents it to with the age. I spent 17 years as a printer right out of high school. I didn't go to college. It was not for me. I switched into real estate, and I've loved it ever since. Neenah has always been an awesome place to be since kindergarten all the way up. I've made a lot of lifelong friends. Teachers I still see that I've had. It's a really good community, and that's why I want to be on the school board. To listen to concerns, to get people's information or what's bothering them, and also just to be an active member for society. I deal with negotiations, finances, meeting people every day, so it's nothing new. And I just like to have a chance to serve you on the new school board. Thanks.
I'll try it again, Michelle. Swardensky.
Perfect.
All
Absolutely.
right.
Look, we're learning already tonight. I love it. So, first of all, I can't believe how many of you I know, and I'm so happy that you're all here and how much you care about public education. And so many people to be running. I mean, other districts can't get enough candidates to fill the seat. And now you have 7 candidates that see 6 candidates. I just counted you with who want to be here, who want to serve you. And so that already is a win for this community. I will say, I'm a bit of a known entity, right? I served on the board for 7 years. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I took 3 years off for my family, and now they're getting old on me. So I have a freshman and a senior. So next year, when I would essentially start serving, I'd almost have an empty nest, which is just unbelievable to me. Neenah, it's my home. I grew up here. Once we were in an antique store in Appleton, and my husband and I found my grandmother's yearbook, an old Rockets yearbook. I didn't tell my grandmother that I found it in the antique store, but that's how far back I go to Neenah, okay? Why do I want to do it? I will admit, to the last 3 years, I've been doing some armchair quarterbacking. There have been things that I didn't like that happened in the last 3 years that I thought, I bring something to that table. I change something when I'm on that board. I'm an attorney. I fight for kids. That's my job every day, and I want to do it for the district again. So that's why I'm here.
Deborah Watry?
Thank you. Am I loud enough for everyone? Everybody says I have a soft voice, but I carry a big stick. Okay. Here we go. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this, and I very much appreciate you being here and giving us all an opportunity to speak and talk about what we think are the issues and who we are and why we're running. A little bit about me. I've been involved in education for over 45 years, so I know I'm dating myself. But it's been a full 4 years of advocating for students, for taking care of our educators, and really being a voice for the community. I currently am a university professor at several different universities in teaching education and training leaders to be good principals and administrators for our schools. Before that, I was a district administrator, a principal, a director of instruction for a number of years. I also was a principal and a teacher. But I think more important, I've been a parent of public school children. And now I'm a grandparent of students that are in Neenah, and I really want to advocate for them. I want to be of service. I want to be able to use my experience and knowledge and support what's happening in the great schools of Neenah. So we need to celebrate, and we have so much to look forward to. So I look to continue to be on the school board. This is my 4th year, and I'm looking at this timer, you know. But I really would appreciate your support, and I look forward to making this a great school district and to use my knowledge and experience to help that.
Okay, now each candidate will be given 1.5 minutes to respond to questions. There is no rebuttal, nor will there be closing statements. Let's begin with Tom. The question is regarding student test scores. Nationally, student test scores took a big hit during the COVID pandemic. What has and should NSJD do to address this issue to help students be successful? Do you feel that standardized tests are an adequate way to measure students' progress and success?
At this point in time, I do not think that standardized tests that currently exist are the ideal way to mark a student's success and progress. We're teaching now in the 21st century in such innovative ways that those tests just don't capture that. They are starting to catch up in their value, that some of the tests are diagnostic as they go, but I think that our on-site staff, we're so fortunate for what we have, does a really good job of identifying student needs as they go, and more effective and probably more accurate in describing what's going on with our students than a batch of standardized tests that are geared at making a school report card and simply matching us up to our peers. what I've seen going on in the Neenah School District over, well, for quite a long time, but with a great deal of significance and forethought, currently is sorry, I'm struggling for the correct words, make it a sincere effort to teach individual student, that we're meeting the students where they are and providing education on a more individualized basis than we used to. It's not so much X amount of seat time and teaching the same lesson to every student. That's the introduction, and for making an effort to catch up to each student where they're at and get them up to grade level or support them as they move down. Thank you.
Brian?
Tom makes a lot of very good points. The standardized testing that currently in use across the nation is not keeping pace with technology that our students are growing up with. I kind of mentioned earlier, rote memorization is not learning. That's kind of the first step, but education goes far beyond just memorizing certain facts. So we need to get away from standardized testing. Test whether or not you can recite something, or whether or not you actually dive deeper, understand the concepts behind it. So until those things are updated, it's not a good system. That, coupled with a fall behind due to the COVID lockdowns and home education that we all went through with our children, there's a lot of areas that the special attention that was brought up earlier isn't being applied to that really need it. So again, those students are going to fall even further behind than they already. Just to reiterate, as it is right now, standardized not helping our children. Definitely not, in my opinion, the way to go forward.
Rocky?
Standardized testing is not an accurate way to test students. Some students are taught better with testing, some are not good test takers. With having the challenges that we had faced in the last couple of years, I've seen the children firsthand navigate through some very difficult times. Overall, the test scores are above average for the state. And I've also seen firsthand with teachers reaching out personally to parents, seeing what they can do to help their children out, whether it's stay after on their own time, which is such a huge selfless thing to do for a teacher, to stay beyond their time to make sure that the students are getting the needed education that they need, because they do have a passion for learning. And I just think that it should not be so much placed on standardized testing. There's other realms.
Michelle?
And I agree, standardized testing is not the yardstick by which any of us think we measure our kids. It is the yardstick that's currently being used. But really, I think the issue is Neenah has the best teachers, and I can say that from when I went to school and seeing my kids go through the school at every level. But how are we empowering our teachers to help our students? When I look at right now how we're doing the scheduling, particularly for middle school and how long those class periods are, and we're asking the teachers and kids with a very small attention span for over 100 minutes to stay intrigued. How do we think that's helping those students, and how do we think that's empowering those teachers? I think we need to look at that. I think we need to look at the grading system. I, for one, I'm not a big fan. I'd like to take a look at it again. I'm not a big fan of that grading system. I don't think it's getting the best things out of our kids. So I don't want to divert into what standardized testing is. None of us love it. But what are we going to do to help our kids in our district? I think we need to look at some of those things. Figure out how to empower our teachers to help our kids again, and to look again, how are we handling our business to best help our students do better? That's what I would.
Deborah?
Okay, thank you. Just like all of the other candidates, standardized test is just a snapshot. And what we use it in Wisconsin for is hopefully as a growth model to see where we've been and where we've come. And we do have to celebrate our Neenah school districts. We have grown. Just our last test scores, 12 out of our 14 schools exceeded or exceptionally exceeded on the state test scores. So we do have to celebrate that. Also, I think that we have some other things we need to celebrate and not just look at that one test score. All of our schools do a formative type of assessment, and from that type of assessment, we're able to take a look at individual students and support where necessary. We have a lot to celebrate also. We have the highest ACT score in the Valley of public schools. Neenah has ranked tops for the last 3 years. So we have a lot of celebration to do. In our own schools, we use our individual student test results to provide additional support for the students that need it. We've spent a lot on hiring additional coaches in our district for literacy and math. And we have also then provided a lot of professional development for students to be for teachers to be very effective in the classroom.
Lindsay?
I agree with my fellow candidates as well that standardized testing it's not the best indicator of overall performance. Kids test differently. Some kids don't test great, so I don't feel that it is. But like they've said, it's what we have right now. I think the focus needs to be on more individualized learning. I've been out talking to parents, and a lot of parents are concerned that their kids all learn at a different level. They all learn at different paces, and they're concerned with some of the ways that they need to have more individualized learning plans for each student. Obviously, we're having, teachers, there's a lot of strain on teachers right now. There's a lot going on. We're having hiring issues all over the state. And it's a large problem. So we have to, like Michelle said, motivate our teachers, talk with them, give them help where it's necessary. And I think some of the tools to do that are also focusing on mentoring programs, right? Hoover Elementary has an incredible mentoring program in the district that uses people from our community, parents, sometimes it's teachers, anyone that's willing to volunteer to work one-on-one with these students to help them improve in any area that they need. I think those are things that we need to focus on as well to help these students that may be struggling. I think that that's a really important aspect of it as well, making sure that each student has a plan and that we're helping them grow however they need throughout the district.
Okay, Brian, I'm going to start with a question on student mental health. Mental health is an ever-increasing concern in our schools and in our community. Do you feel the district is doing its best to address the mental health needs of students?
I believe the school district is doing everything in its power to address this. That being said, most schools do not strongly agree that they can handle mental health needs. That's 88% false that were polled across the United States. Big 3 indicators or 3 tools that they all say that they need are mental health professionals on staff, and then access to licensed mental health professionals outside of the school district, as well as funding for these individuals, as well as the programs that are going to go in helping. Some other areas of improvement are having proactive outreach programs built into the school day, built into the semester, so that students know that there's always somebody that they can reach out to, as well as individuals looking out for this and teach them about mental health. They may not be aware of things that seem normal to people, not normal to other people, that addressed some way or another. Also, the professional development of the educators within our schools needs to be addressed, need to be informed as well, so that they can help our students. And of course, this is going to need more prep time for the educators so that they have time to process it, know how best.
Rocky? You.
That's not stressful at all for you, Mr. Air. No.
I just thought you wanted to be closer to us.
Same question, Rocky.
Okay, thanks. I believe the school district is taking the right steps to get the mental health awareness out in the district. We are short-staffed with trained professionals. I would like to see the district hire more counselors, psychiatrists, to better fill the void that the kids are missing. It's really important that kids, if they start feeling something's off, that they're not afraid to seek help. This is a problem across all the state, even country. It's something that I don't take lightly, and I'm glad to see the stigma is getting over people having mental health issues. With the district, I like seeing their website, how it has items where the teachers, parents, students can go for help. There's stuff posted out through the high school for help also. So I believe that there's stuff to be improved on, but it's a step in the right direction.
Michelle?
Thank you. I don't want to focus too much on things that happened when I was on the board before, but I am really proud of some of the mental health things that I was instrumental in putting into place, which was hiring the first mental health coordinator in the Fox Valley, Dr. Alton Cruz. I think that's a phenomenal move in the right direction. We went up to 2 social workers, whereas before we had 0, and then we had 1, and now we have 2. We did SOS screeners, so we're looking at screening for children all the way down to younger ages than we did before. I think that's a really important step that we've taken already. Steps we haven't taken yet, we don't have enough counselors. Period. End. Stop. We don't have enough counselors to meet the needs of our kids. We do have some programming where we are having kids do counseling in the building, but that took a big hit during COVID. We have an amazing program in Catalpa in our valley. I'd like to see us work in better partnership with them to see what we can do to help our kids get the services that they need. So I do think that Neenah has taken some really great steps in the right direction, but there's a crisis in this entire country for mental health, and we need more for our kids, starting with more people to help our kids instead of more on the backs of our teachers while they're trying to.
Thank you.
Deborah?
I think just last week, the Post-Crescent had an excellent article which outlined and described the mental health crisis our students are facing. A lot of it due to COVID and still trying to recover. I want to honor our school system, as Michelle talked about, and some of the things that we're doing in the school for our students. We do have a very solid mental health program. We have a very caring and dedicated staff, really working hard to support our students. We have hired more counselors and social workers, but again, there is a definite need. We have trained our staff and students to look for symptoms and help. We've provided a safe school environment for our students. Hopefully with a new 2-year biennial budget coming up, Governor Evers has supported mental health support for school districts, and I do believe that is a bipartisan issue, that we will see support coming for our school districts in the future. But we have a definite need across the whole state of Wisconsin. I think we can also improve by making a stronger parent connection, helping our students and our parents knowing how to access resources and providing that for our families. And also we could probably make use of some parent surveys to find out really what are their issues and concerns so we can address them adequately in our school district.
Thank you. Lindsay?
Yeah, I agree as well. I think the key is having more on-site counseling and staff available. I know, like everyone has said, it's hard to hire people right now. We're in a jobs crisis, but I think it's important that we focus on this. Mental health is such a crisis throughout this country, and a lot of the issues some of these kids are facing, and our staff as well. The staff in the district are struggling with mental health issues too, and they need support as well, just as much as our students do. And I think we need to make sure to have a focus on that. I think some of the things that can help are adding some more peer-to-peer programs in the district and having really robust mentorship for these kids and staff members. And really assessing the ratio that we have in the district of mental health professionals to students and staff. Making sure that we're looking at what is the caseload of the people that we have, what are they able to handle, and how can we effectively help some of these mental health professionals by adding more people to the district and making sure that they're not overwhelmed as well, so they can focus more individual time on each student and staff member that needs it. I think the district has been leading the way in mental health, but I still think there's work to do. And I think that we all agree that we can definitely work towards that in the district as well.
Thank you. Tom?
Well, there's advantages and disadvantages to speaking first or last. Of course, everybody's used all the good topics already. But it was nice to see that, frankly, that we've had 5 opinions that have been about the same. Quite clearly, our district has done a bunch of this stuff first. We've done as much or more than anybody else as far as adding extra social workers, being the first to have a mental health coordinator. All good stuff and definitely worth celebrating. And everybody's voiced the opinion that it's not enough at this point in time, and it's probably never going to be enough. There's mental health needs are, they're enormous, especially for the people that are carrying those situations. So I definitely am open to the district continuing in that vein of adding and increasing our awareness. The point's been brought up. Obviously, we can't continue to tax our teachers with additional work. We just pile on and pile on and pile on, and we've basically been doing that since before I went to school. So the job has changed significantly in those years. It's far more demanding than it used to be. So want to recognize that, and I think Michelle honestly had summed up my thoughts most eloquently within our group, but I don't want to lose sight of the fact that we are doing what we can. We continue to speak about it on an annual basis or more often, have a report on it so that we understand what's going on and we're in a position then to make additional decisions that would impact.
Hey, Rocky, is Neenah doing enough regarding art and music education? Why is it an important part of education?
There's always room for improvement for any class, art, music. My daughter's recently taken up instruments. I was never in that area, but I have an appreciation for that. I see them reading music, playing in front of people, no issues at all. And then I have my kids are the athletic type. So I think from an outside view, it's amazing what Neenah has been with the musical talent. I recently went to the field house where they had an ensemble for all the elementary, the middle school, the high school kids playing, and I was just blown away by it. Just the talent-wise is remarkable. So somebody kind of looking from the outside, I'm thinking it's awesome, but I would assume that there's ways to improve it, and I would reach out to the teachers to say, hey, how can I help you? Parents, what would you like to see? Students, what can we do different to better serve you with the musical and arts programs? Thank you.
Belle?
Thank you. I love this question. I love it. So for my kids, one of my kiddos does the cello and got to travel to Croatia with Phil Smith's Touch of Class. I don't know another district that does something like that. My other kiddo gets to do show choir and travel all over and enjoy music in that realm. Coming back to the other one, they get to do art and compete at a state level and place. Neenah is amazing when it comes to the arts, but we can do more, and we should do more. We recently had turnover. I'm a Neenah music parent, so I get a little excited about this stuff. We recently had turnover in our choir program, and we are seeing a reduction right now in our band and orchestra numbers. So our orchestra numbers had been going up. Now they're coming down a little bit, and our band numbers are. And that's a function of COVID. We're seeing that everywhere. But what are we going to do so we don't lose what we have and that we can build more, okay? And what I talked about before, when we talked about middle school and how long those classes are, can you imagine having 100 kids trying to teach them instruments for 100 minutes? I can't. That's something we could definitely do. That's something we should definitely look at. So I am fiercely proud of what Neenah does in music and art, but we can do more. When you look at some of our surrounding districts, some of our fancy surrounding districts, and they don't even have orchestra at the high school level. We should be very proud of what we're doing, but we need to look at how we can support more so those drops in numbers don't continue. So, I love it.
Deborah?
Thank you. This is a good question, just to keep you a little bit informed. In Neenah, currently now, we have over 300 students that are in the arts and over 252 students that are involved in music. So we do have solid numbers, and again, because of COVID, that number may have dropped off. But we have phenomenal program. We have fantastic teachers, and you can really, really see how our students are so engaged when they're involved in an art and music program. They're engaged in their education overall. If you take a look at the grade point averages of the students that are involved in art and music, it is very, very telling that music and art is very important for our children to be successful. The research out there shows that strong connection between music and math. And even having my own children involved in music and now my grandchildren involved in the arts, I see that it makes them better students. I'm so proud to be involved in a Neenah school district that we can afford and be able to provide opportunities for our students to excel in so many areas, not just sports, but in forensics and speech and in the arts. And it does create that well-rounded student. So whatever we can do to support the arts in Neenah, we need to continue doing so.
Lindsay?
I agree. I think art and music is an incredibly important part of the things that we do in the district. My homeschool for my kids, my daughter's 3, but she'll be in 4K pretty soon, and is Tuller Elementary. And we actually went over there to tour it, and she'll be getting into school pretty soon, and right across the street from us. And one of the things that the principal told us there was that they're so tight on space there before this transition that they have art and music on carts, and they have to bring it into a classroom. They don't even have a classroom right now for art and music. And I think those are things, with the transition, it will really help them open up some space. But I think those are the things that we need to look at in the district. Art and music is so good for brain development. I mean, even just with my 3-year-old, we've been doing some stuff at home to prep her for 4K in kindergarten, and I see the growth and development in her when we do arts, when we do music at home. So I think it's something that the district really needs to focus on and keep in our district for our kids. So I completely agree.
Tom?
Yeah, I won't be a secret to many of you who do know me and have heard me speak before, but I never was a music fan and I wasn't involved in the arts, so perhaps I'm simply not talented. But that doesn't mean I don't recognize the value of not just our arts. I think we have, frankly, a really nice program, and without a doubt, in any avenue, we can always do more, we can always do better, we can always improve. But I think we have a super nice program, and to me, what I like about it is that we have exposure for the students to those things, and additionally, we have exposure in many other avenues. That's the part that I find is really super about our district, is that our students have opportunities to sample, decide they like, not what their parents like, what their dad likes. That doesn't make that much difference to the individuals as they go on. The question is, okay, if I see this and it's cool and I want to do it, can I do it? That's great. If I don't see it, how would I even know? So without a doubt, I support our art and music programs. I support any of our other clubs that we have, whether it be debate, we have, sports communities within us. All those things are opportunities for a student to find a place to fit in and find a place to connect with others that are in a similar situation in our district, and so that they have a real sense of belonging. And our art numbers and our music numbers definitely indicate that our students favor that. So to me, that's a vote towards those programs, individual student.
Brian?
I think we should be very proud of what we currently have. I think it's very important that we have exposure to art as well as music. It does expand the ways of seeing, thinking about the world. But one thing we got to keep in mind is everybody's art is different. Use art such that expand individuals' creativity by using art. I was draw, play, but metal shop. I could my that's where I found how I express myself. And I was making functional things, but I also felt everybody's arts is a little bit different. Cognizant of that, everybody has to find their own.
Okay, Michelle. If the city does not rezone the Shattuck property for the current development plan, how should the district maintain the old building? How should the maintenance and eventual demolition be funded?
Thank you. So I will say that was one of my armchair quarterback moments. Wasn't happy with what happened. Just wasn't. Quite frankly, I think we missed an opportunity. I think there should have been communication between the city and the district and all of the members of our community. There is actually clearly a dork because there's an Outagamie County Housing Task Force that was done last year that looked at housing, not only in Outagamie County, but all the way down into Neenah and Menasha, and talked about if we put too much of one kind of housing in one spot, that causes issues. I don't care what community you're talking about, that causes issues. The district is responsible for that building. I was part of the referendum, a big part of the referendum. We have to keep it up until it goes away. And if that means the district has to pay for the demolition, that's what we need to do. However, I don't think that's what it's going to come to. I think if this city and the people of this city come together with the district, we can do better. When I look at that property, all I see is opportunity. What we currently have on the table, I'm not a big fan of because I think we can do more and we can do better if we do it together. Being a part of a referendum that failed the first time around, that was difficult. That was egg on the face. That was very, very difficult for something we wanted really, really bad. And in the end, we came together better and we did something better and stronger. That's the opportunity that we have before us right now. And that's the way I think we need to look at this. This issue has divided the community more than any I've ever seen. And I don't think that has to continue. We can come together on this one. I believe that. I'm sorry, Mr. I went on.
Speaking of music and arts,
Okay, Deborah.
All right, I don't think it's an easy solution to what will happen with the Shattuck property, but I do think that we need to take a look at carefully planning for our future and for meeting the needs of our housing in Neenah. We need to work with our community to make sure that people get listened to and that there's input and that there is consensus when we make that final solution of that Shattuck property. Almost 3 years ago, we were given a price of $2 million for the school district to demolish the Shattuck property. And of course, I'm sure that cost has increased incredibly since then for us to carry and have that burden. I support the sale of the property, but a viable sale and a sale that has a plan so that we can meet the needs of the people living in Neenah. If we take a look at Neenah's comprehensive plan, they have a housing affordability report in their comprehensive plan of 2040. And Neenah has tried to look and explore and promote programs that will lead to an increased supply of housing units for our local market. So again, it's a matter of coming together, working together, and coming to a solution that will support the community, but also support the growth that should occur in Neenah for housing.
Lindsay?
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is an opportunity that the school board, I think, missed, to be honest, to get input from the community on. I think that they didn't listen as well as they should have to the community. A lot of community members stood up and said that they wanted to have a voice in this, and I felt like they weren't listened to like they should have been. I think that there's more opportunity to hear them. An offer hasn't been accepted yet, right? So there's community members that want to do something great with this property. I think we need to listen to what they have to say, whether that's adding more, family housing, having a park there, anything that's going to enhance that area of the community and make Neenah a better place that wants to bring in more families to this district. That's what we all want, right? But I think that communication is absolutely key. Communication between the board and the community, between the board and the city. Communication fixes a lot of problems, and I think that that's something that we need to do better about moving forward as a school board and as a city as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't think the Shattuck situation was handled ideally from the beginning by any stretch of the imagination. And not the first time that I've had an opportunity to say so. I can't tell you that I know for certain what the outcome will or should be. We are currently bound by an offer, the same developer, that hasn't expired yet. So at this point in time, we're sort of in their hands while we wait for something either to finalize or for something better to happen. I think, frankly, one of our biggest shortcomings as a district is that we don't have as much transparency and open communication with our community as we should. And the real drawback from that is at times we seek information from our community, but then we don't utilize it to our best advantage. That's kind of one of the things that's kept me hanging around 20 years is to see that finally change, that there's more of an open dialogue, or that we don't just listen to the community, but we hear our community. Personally, since that's a part of it, I would like to see the building stay in some significant fashion. I like old things. I like the history of Neenah and other communities. I personally would like to find a way that redevelops it in a way that is meaningful. And then please understand that the board does have an obligation to the community with their money. So that is part of what's urged the district forward, is fulfilling our promise with the referendum that we would at some point in time dispose of, eliminate, or offload our Shattuck.
Brian?
As we've talked about, there's demand for housing area. I moved to this area in Wisconsin, the other side of Winnebago. When I moved up here, I had a hard time. There's just housing right now. Up here, know exactly where I wanted. I knew I wanted to be in the Neenah school district. I wasn't, but where exactly I wanted. But there was 2 properties that were extremely limited. Need more housing area. We do need more community. We need to listen to actually more of the. We need to reevaluate the property development stands right now. Have the contract with, I think, retooled it, a little bit of input, make more people happy. Bring in the neighbors, bring in the developer, bring the board, talk about the issues at hand, whether it's actually going to be less traffic, but where are people going to park? Where are these interactions going to? All these.
Rocky?
This is a subject I'm very close at with being a realtor. I believe the district is doing their due diligence and not just selling the property to somebody that does not have a plan moving forward. If that was the case, that property might sit vacant, and then what's the city going to do and the school district going to do? I feel like I would have had a better input with maybe the contract and the value for the property. I think $500,000. I think that's a pretty reasonable price for the property, minus the demolition. But like Tom said, maybe the building could somewhat be saved. I like the community input. The communication has to be better. Going back to closing with Roosevelt, a lot of the community members were kind of caught off guard by that. And with this property too, I think everybody's got to be on the same page, and everybody's not going to be happy with whatever we decide, but whatever's best for the majority of the district, I say go for it.
Okay. Deborah, what do you see as the major challenges the school district faces, and how do you propose addressing them?
We already discussed probably one of the biggest one was the mental health issues for our students. But some other challenges that I see is that we create safe and optimal learning spaces for our students. The new high school will afford great learning spaces in the way students learn now, not that sit in a desk in a row like we learned many years ago, but for the way critical problem solving, working in groups, learning some of the soft skills. I think another issue that we have facing our district is to make education relevant for all students. And by this, that emphasis on career and technical education, focus on STEM and building that, making sure that our staff is well trained to adapt and change to these changes that are happening for student needs. And perhaps if we take a look at our parent survey, we have a very high 82% that parents responded last year that they were satisfied with the education that we were giving our students. So I think we need to celebrate that we are on the right track. I think we need to develop positive relations with our community, as we've talked about, that need for communication. And we can take a look at doing short parent surveys. We've hired a communication director. 82% of our parents said they're very satisfied with how they're being communicated in our school district in our parent survey last year. I'm out of time.
Lindsay?
Yeah, I agree with Deb on a lot of those things. I think that some of the big issues that I think that we as a school board should look at, though, is enrollment. It's pretty steady, but we have more during open enrollment out than we do in this district. And I think that we can do a better job of reaching out to those parents and those families and saying, why are you leaving, right? And what can we do to improve that? How can we help you guys in this district to want to stay, or what can we do in the future to help families? Whether that's, some people might be concerned about curriculum, some people might just be moving out of the district, right? We don't know why that is, but I think that it's important that we're looking into that and talking with these families. We want to make Neenah the place that people want to come, right? They want to be the district that people want to stay in. And I think that we need to look at those numbers for enrollment and address it a little bit more as a board. I'm also pretty passionate about special education. I think that I've talked to a lot of parents that have reached out to me that have students with IEPs in the district that feel like their students are failing and they're struggling and they feel like they need more help. I think that we need to find a way to have more of a representation on the board for special education, whether that's having a report out at every board meeting from a special education teacher about what's going on and what they need in the district. But I think that's also a really important issue that we need to focus on for parents moving forward. Thank you.
Tom?
Hi. Yeah, I think really our biggest deficiencies as a district in whole is our transparency and our open communication, and again, hearing what our community has to say. All the other topics we talk about all boil back down to it's people want to communicate, they want to have their voice heard, and they want to feel it's valued and the decisions not made ahead of them. I do not want to diminish the work we do in our district. We have an excellent staff, excellent teachers. We've been a go-to district and a kind of a shining star district as far as achievement goes for decades and decades. So that isn't, there's no possible way to say that everything we're doing is wrong. I just feel that not only the board, but the district as a whole represents our community because it's public education and it's funded by the community. And I think all those years ago, I was drawn to this particular aspect of the communication, the openness, and then trying to find a way to stimulate additionally our community to want to have dialogue with the district and the board and not just go, well, that's a thing that happened and I'm unhappy with it. And I'll be fair, even with 3 years of piddling around with it, I've had a difficult time bridging that gap, the outreach where I was hoping I could create a pouring in of information from our community so we could make better guided decisions. Ultimately, it's not only about how we spend our community's money, it's spending it in a manner that they wish we would spend it.
Brian?
Again, we need to be proud of what we have accomplished so far on where we're going as a whole. Directions, I feel, are very good. Right direction. To that end, we need to make sure that our children are meeting the demands of the 21st century. We utilizing technology at their disposal, understanding the technology, how to safely use that technology in an online world. Very important for our children, and frankly for a lot of adults. We also need to focus on the mental health of our students and educators who don't have health. We can't expect them to help us have reactions, develop healthy coping mechanisms. Speaking of getting, we need to let every know options. I was high school. Focus was on getting into college. Let's just say that path, right path. It is absolutely the right path. And asking a girl or younger to know what they want with education and it's that well.
Hey. Rocky?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. What do you see as the major challenges the school district faces, and how do you propose addressing them?
I believe the teachers' support is a huge challenge that we are facing as a district. I'm not a fan of loading them up with more work. They are worked to the brink already. We need to hire whether additional support staff. Also, the challenges are going to be with logistics with the new middle school, occupying the new high school, with families getting there, bus routes, just how the kids are going to be adjusted there, and it goes along with the high school. You know, it's in an area that could have some improvements for, you know, sidewalks, and you have a huge highway in front of it, so we have to kind of look at what we can do as a district and Fox Crossing to safely get the kids to and from school every day.
Michelle?
I have a tough one to be like towards the end on, but what it makes me think about and what I've been thinking about in the last year or so is making sure that every kid reaches their best potential. So when I was on the board before, I remember it was the last 2 years that I was on as president, but our graduation rate was 86%. And that was wrong. And I could not abide being president of a school board with 86% graduation rate in this community. So there was push all over the district to increase that graduation, which is phenomenal. And I think we're almost 96 at this point. 96.7, okay? That's phenomenal. But graduating alone isn't enough. We need to know that every single kid that is leaving has options and knows where they're going or knows what to do if they're not getting to that next step. Brian Wunderlich always says every rocket needs a champion, right? Our teachers are our teachers because they love the kids. They need an opportunity to connect with the kids, and the kids need an opportunity to connect with their teacher. I don't want that my kid gets a green so they know they can get midway and they don't have to try anymore because they're not really reaching their potential. I don't want that a child on an IEP who has special needs isn't also being challenged to push to be their very best when they walk out that door, that they're proud of who they are and what their lives. That's our biggest challenge right now. We're not meeting the need of each kid as they're coming into us. So that's what I would think we would need to focus on, and that looks really different for each kid. Thank you, Ms. Barrett, and I apologize.
This concludes the Neenah School Board Candidates Forum. The League of Women Voters supports an online voter guide called vote411.org. Voters are invited to go there to read answers to questions posed to their candidates. Tonight, we are happy and grateful to note that 100% of the candidates appearing at this and the following forum responded to our request to post their answers on that website. That website again is vote411.org. Election Day is Tuesday, April 4th, and the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You may register using proof of residence when you go to vote on Election Day. Everyone must show a photo voter ID. Go to myvote.wi.gov to find information on registration, ballots, acceptable photo IDs, and polling places. On behalf of the League and the Fox Cities Advocates for Public Education, I want to thank the candidates for participating in this forum. Thanks also to the audience for your questions. Our democracy depends on citizen involvement. Please vote on April 4th. Thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome to the Neenah Aldermanic District 1 Forum. This evening's event is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Winnebago County and the Fox Cities Advocates for Public Education. Thank you to members of both organizations for your time and effort in planning this forum. I'm Peggy Cox, and I will be the moderator, and the timekeeper will be Debbie Dreyer. If anybody has questions that they would like to write out, please contact one of the ushers, and please write legibly so we can all read it. A recording of this forum will be available on YouTube within the next few days and will also be posted on our website, Facebook page, and on the Vote 411 site. So the timing for tonight's forum includes the following: opening statements for 2 minutes, and the response for the questions will be 1.5 minutes. We will not have rebuttals nor closing statements. So we are going to start. I have to find my names. With Alexander Collins. And our other candidate is Carrie Lendrum. So Alexander, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Alex Collins. Thank you for coming. I only have 2 minutes, so if you have further questions, please go to my website, alexforneenah.com. Now, as some of you know, I grew up in Neenah, attending Washington, Horseman, Shattuck, and Neenah High School, leaving after graduation in '85 and coming back 3 years ago. During those years away, I met my wife and had 2 kids. I served as a naval officer. I worked in vice president positions at Citibank and JP Morgan and earned professional engineering, law, and CPA licenses. Now you might say, who cares? You know, I'm obviously not that polished, slick politician. You know, I won't know all the intricacies of Neenah's government from the get-go. So why vote for me? 2 things: improved decision-making, and most importantly, transparency. I'll be upfront and honest with you. In addition to being available, I'll be hosting monthly meetings with my constituents to seek your input on city proposals so that my votes reflect your wishes. In comparison, for the Shattuck rezoning, almost 900 people signed a petition against it. And yet their own alderman, my opponent, voted to rezone, even after we had shown decisively that there was no basis for stating that it's the best deal, and that, never, because it was never properly marketed, so we wouldn't know in the first place. And now, shifting over to economic development, I'll advocate for Neenah marketing directly to developers, rather than waiting and kind of hoping that developers come to us. In conversations with Neenah's community development, they said they'd love to do more marketing. Simple things as advertising in developer magazines to get Neenah's name out there. More businesses in Neenah means a bigger tax base overall and less taxes for the rest of us. I'd support those efforts. In sum, I'm running to make Neenah better and be a voice for you. Thank you.
Carrie?
Thank you. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this forum and volunteering your time, and thank you all for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. I also want to thank Alex for work. I appreciate that. It's been an honor to serve the residents of Neenah's first district since 2011. I'm a homeowner and own other real estate investments in the district. I have lived in this beautiful city for 32 years. I raised both my kids here, who have successfully launched their careers and families. I'm currently the chair of the Public Services and Safety Committee. I also serve on the Public Works Committee, Fox Cities Transit Commission, Committee on Rules, Emergency Government Committee, and the Loan Assistance Board. I've previously served on the Community Development Authority, Bergstrom Mahler Museum of Glass Board, Citizen Advisory Committee, Committee on Aging, Joint Review Board, Landmarks Commission, and the Parking Task Force. I was a longtime volunteer in the schools, longtime board member of Doty Island Development Council and the United Way, among countless other community volunteer opportunities. My occupations are city council member, property manager, landlord, and I work at the YMCA as a building supervisor. Neenah has become a destination thanks to an incredible team of council members, city staff, and future Neenah. I want to keep that forward momentum and continue to retain our mom and pop businesses, our large corporations, and our resident retirees who may want to downsize their family home. We need to attract younger people to work in our corporations, factories, retail, and nonprofits. For this to happen, we need a variety of housing. Young, four-year college or technical college grads many times are not, okay.
Okay. So the first question will be going to Carrie. One of the questions submitted tonight addressed the lack of new commercial building, while another questioner pointed out that there is too much new building, robbing Neenah of its charm. Do you think there is too much or not enough commercial building? How can the city make good decisions about future development?
Commercial building, that's an easy one because when you bring in commercial building per se, it builds a really strong tax base. And that in turn takes the burden off of us, the Neenah taxpayers. So too much commercial building, we have a long-range plan for annexing, South Neenah, so there's no problem with too much commercial building. I understand where people are worried about losing the charm of Neenah. I think our commercial builders have done as good a job as they can capturing the small town charm, small town feel in their buildings. They are limited to cost. You cannot take a building, like the old Gladfelter, and bring it back to a usable building. So I think that so far the downtown buildings have done a good job capturing the brick, the old world charm as good as they possibly can within their budget.
Okay, Alex?
Well, I would say probably there could be more building. I would agree with we should be trying to extend our tax base. That's less taxes for us. And, so I always stress, first, create a great business climate. That should be one of your number one things. You don't want to just lure people in with tax rebates and then have them leave when they go out. I'd be, looking, what are we doing to attract business? Now, are we putting big buildings right next to the quaint downtown? I don't see that. It does seem that we're doing the right amount in the right areas. I mean, actually, I did see one of the plans on the Neenah Next I thought was a little kind of quirky. You have these two big buildings and the tiny, that martini or bar in the middle. But, we should be trying to attract building, obviously keep Neenah's downtown its charm as well. But, we need to be attracting more. We want to increase the tax base and lower the taxes for the rest of us.
Okay. Alex, can you talk about your current ties to the community and how you've been involved with the community over the past few years?
I'll admit, I got very involved in the Shattuck rezoning. And I'm not one of the people in the immediate area of Shattuck close, but I was a bit concerned that these people were having rezoning being done, and they didn't feel like they were being heard. And I did definitely feel for them, because if they would speak at a community forum, and I spoke too on their behalf, and yes, you feel like, you know, it's not necessarily the fault of the council as much as there's no interaction. You feel like you're talking to a brick wall. And I think, how many, 4 council members, though, voted against them. We had come up with a very good case, you know, and I helped the community come up with this case showing, hey, this was never properly marketed. Originally, they had said, oh, it's been on the market for 18 months, and, this is the best deal we're going to get. And we showed Mary Pfeiffer's own words to the Plan Commission, November 29th. They asked her, was it marketed? And she said, well, we considered the Neenah referendum to be public notice of the sale. And that's pretty ridiculous. So I got really involved in this, and it's transferred into, you know, I'm going to be, even if I don't win, I'm going to be a community advocate. I'm going to be, you know, talking to the public, and I'm going to help.
Okay, Carrie?
Thank you. The question was, what are our ties to the community, right? Can you repeat the question
Can you
again?
talk about your current ties to the community and how you've been involved with the community over the last several years?
Okay, thank you. When I first got here in 1990, I was holding my baby in our rental on Congress, and I heard this amplified sound outside, and I picked her up and I ran to the door, snowing. I thought, what is that noise? And I'm holding her, and I see Santa on the sleigh coming down the street, and I thought, you know, am I hallucinating? Because I had come from Dallas, and before that, Minnesota, we had no Santa coming down our street. So ever since then, it was a magical moment where I knew that this was going to be my forever community. And I thought any community that can do that for their residents has my buy-in. So ever since then, I have volunteered from day one since we got here, and all the way through my kids' schools. Like I said, Doty Island Development Council, multiple, either single volunteer opportunities or being on multiple boards. So this is my community, and picking up trash, whatever it is, this is where I'm staying. So my involvement in the community is been so strong that now I have met so many people here, and I have a very strong, I guess, almost like a protective feeling toward the residents here. I just want the best for them.
Okay. Alex, address Neenah's use of the TIF districts. What future developments could make use of TIF funding?
Okay. Now, I know a lot of people kind of throw these acronyms out. TIF, tax increment financing. And just so people who might not be familiar with TIFs, if you had like a empty vacant property in a TIF district, it's $1 million, and somebody comes in like Walmart, and then the property value doubles to like $2 million. They're still going to collect as if it's only $1 million on the property taxes. There's a how to say it? Rather than paying twice the property taxes, they brought in this Walmart. Tax value went up. They get a rebate of that taxes. It was usually, when I talked to like Brad Schmidt, he said they usually use a 70-30 split. 70% would go back to like Walmart if they, and that they're one of the most successful TIF districts in the city, and 30% would be invested in that TIF district. And to me, yes, it's a necessary evil to use these TIF districts, because if you don't do it, your neighboring community will. And it is a better way. I mean, it's probably lesser of other evils, because you're only losing the incremental value. You're not like paying out. But yes, they can lose, but when I've looked at the record, yep, Neenah has done fairly well. Walmart area, best tax TIF district, it's like tripled in value.
Okay, Carrie?
Thank you. Ready? Okay. Tax incremental financing in a TID district is an amazing tool. And we are fortunate that the state has made some changes and realized some of the opportunities that municipalities can take with TIF funding. We have 8 outstanding TIFs right now. 2 are maturing, and most of them are doing well. TIF 8 is struggling because that's the Gladfelter building. And if you can imagine, during 2008, we had a state revaluation of our buildings, and it brought the value down, and then they ran into a lot of environmental problems. So that one, it was very much a struggling TIF. The state has allowed our positive TIFs, the ones that are doing very well, to be donors to the struggling TIFs. So we've got, so the 2 maturing ones that are coming up, the really neat thing is the state gave municipalities the ability to take 1 extra year of TIF increment and use it for anything that has to do with housing. Rehabbing residents' houses, maybe small loans, but that is an amazing opportunity for us after each of the TIFs close, and we have 2 coming up. Thank you.
Carrie, sustainability is a major concern for municipalities and citizens. What should Neenah do to increase its sustainability efforts?
We've already done a lot since I've been Alderman. The whole city garage, the whole side of it is solar. So we've got a sustainable Neenah committee, and they are so creative. It is made up of some staff, but mostly residents. And I really appreciate that committee because they are very, very creative. And what they do is they have long-range, very serious plans about saving energy within the city, but they also have creativity with buy-in with families. For example, they'll go to each of the farmers markets, and they'll have some sort of incredibly fun, creative, sustainable project that will bring the kids in, bring the families in. And that is a committee, if any of you are interested in sustainable practices, that is something that you might want to join. It's a wonderful.
Alex, what can and should Neenah do to increase the sustain?
Well, I'm less for the me too, we have to do what everybody else is doing. As a professional engineer, I'll say that some of the technologies people are trying to push out are not as mature as they should be. Now, if they pay for themselves, that's an easy call, right? It's sometimes though people are investing, 60, twice as much money, and their savings is less. We should be smart about it. If I were really going to look at sustainability, I'd probably be looking at our drinking water supply. Make sure Lake Winnebago. If I were to look at has a high algae content, sometimes we should be looking at our working with the state, surrounding community. Are we dumping too much phosphates and phosphorus compounds into the lake? That causes elevated algae bloom. And to me, if I was going to look at sustainability, I'll be looking at making sure we have a nice sustainable water supply for a long time to come. To me, that's probably the key thing we should.
Alex, Neenah is about to celebrate its 150th birthday. What do the next years hold in store for Neenah?
Well, I'd like to see that, we're still, a lot of the developments, South Commercial Street, the Arrowhead Park, those are, actually, we're going to get some designs soon for those. I'd like to see it, expand. I'd like to see the vacancy rate. Some person was telling me the other day that they're a realtor, they drive around, and they see lot more empty buildings in Neenah than elsewhere. To me, what I want to see is Neenah is, bloom out, bring in the businesses, and, it obviously has the benefit of increasing our tax base. But to me, I want it to be, whether it's the South Commercial Development, Arrowhead Park, I always think when I've lived a lot of places, where do I want to sit out? Like, whether I'm at work, I want to go someplace at lunch that's nice to hang out. You do need to invest in those areas. And also, how about on weekends? Is it the same place that would you want to go here for the weekend? So I'm looking at, I want it to be expanded businesses, to make sure we execute well on the Arrowhead and South Commercial Street development. And, and I think we can make a really nice, make it even better.
Okay. Gary?
Thank you. We have some good. That's all right. I'm patient. Tell me when you're ready. Ready? All right. So, in the coming years, we have some. I'm not even sure I'd call them. I wouldn't call them obstacles, but challenges that we need to address as a council and as a staff. Parking is one of them, and we all can probably agree on that. We are not going to get any more development in this area without a parking ramp. There's just no way around that. Parking ramps are very, very expensive. This one probably cannot be in a TIF, so it's going to be a lot of money. So that's one challenge that we have coming up in the next couple of years. What's important to me is that our staff participate in recruiting and retaining businesses here. I don't want to lose any business to another municipality. There's now some towns can TIF, so we have a challenge in front of us to make sure that we can keep the business that we have and retain more. And I also want to keep our nonprofit here because that really affects our quality of life. Thank you.
Okay. Gary? New housing developments are popping up all over Neenah. Notably, 2 large high-rent properties have been built or are in the process of being built in Neenah's downtown. What is the future for affordable housing within the city of Neenah? What is the city council's role in encouraging low-income affordable housing?
Well, obviously, we have a huge challenge because of the failure of the zoning for we're supposed to call it workforce housing now. And my concern is I want our kids, our graduating kids, whether college or high school, to stay. I do not want what they call brain drain and have them leave. We also have seniors here who want to downsize their family homes, and not all of them can afford to live in the beautiful new complexes downtown. And so what do we do about that? It's a real problem, and we absolutely have to address it. And I was for the development for the affordable housing because I pictured, because of everyone I've talked to, seniors being the biggest demographic in that building. And then second, people who work at Alta, new people at Plexus, new people at the Foundry, they really don't make that much money. People at Theta Clark, new nurses don't make very much money. Those are the people. So I pictured a mix of seniors and young people in that building. That was my hope. So yeah, we've got a long way to go. So I'm just hoping that the next developer that comes forward has that kind of plan.
Alex?
There are zones for multifamily housing, and, and just to address something, North Point was given the option, they were asked at one of the council meetings, would you consider making it a senior development, 55 and over development? And they said no. And so any idea, so it apparently can't be there. Yes, and I actually have had a couple of constituents, they were District 1 residents. They said, they are seniors, and exactly what Carrie said. They want to move someplace. They won't be able to maintain their homes. We have to be friendly about, there are multifamily zones. We shouldn't be too onerous to let people build, especially if there's already plenty of zoning areas for that. And, we should support that. I think the best place is preferably someplace that's already zoned that way. And I think that was the big difference between like this Shattuck area is it was in the middle of a R1 district. It'd be better to have it someplace like near a shopping center, something that's a little more amenable to people that can't necessarily travel too far. So thank you.
Okay. Alex, well, nearly all Neenah residents think this community is darn near perfect. What does Neenah need to be even better? What are its strongest assets and greatest needs?
Well, I can tell you the strongest asset. I mean, it is the Neenah charm. I mean, I left New York City right before COVID, came here with my wife and 2 kids. They're now 3 and 6. But I left there. It's like I finally, after being away a very long time, got an opportunity to come back. And then when it was like a year ago, JP Morgan said, hey guys, you have to come to the office. I said, okay, I'm not going back to New York City. I want to stay here. And I cut my ties, actually basically went, found a new job, and so I could stay here permanently. It's something I'll admit, no matter where I lived in the DC area, Boston area, New York City, I always had this idea of coming back. Now the problem always is the job situation. Why can't there be more tech jobs? Actually, one of the areas I want to go look in, I think that's someplace where we can improve upon is, reach out to some tech companies, tech developers, because we want to bring people, here. If you want people not to have the brain drain, we got to get people to come. And the tech industry is one of the key industries. We should be just reaching out to those our businesses. Maybe we can draw one to come here and open another, get another tech company out here. Thank you.
Gary?
So the question was, what are our strongest assets and our greatest needs? Strongest assets, I think the strongest asset we have is Future Neenah. Think about how many activities you do all spring, summer, and fall that Future Neenah supports with not one dime taxpayer money. That is one of our greatest assets. I am so grateful. Neenah would not be Neenah without Future Neenah. So think about them when you're making out your checks for your nonprofits. We have an incredibly strong city staff and council. That's another asset. But we support the amenities that very, very creative people have brought forward. And I will admit, in the beginning, when I first started, 2011, 12, 13, I was not willing to spend the kind of money for some of these assets. And some of our park developments and Lakeshore Avenue. As time went on, and I realized that people were asking for these amenities and using them, even when we just barely started them. So I realized that I have to start realizing that this is the quality of life, and people are getting outside and using these. Thank you.
Gary, Please address public transportation or lack of public transportation in Neenah. What can the city do to bring more public transportation to Neenah?
So we do have the bus system. I'm on the Transit Commission. It is a really wonderful asset. I was talking to a manager up at the mall, and she said she wouldn't be able to clean the mall without her employees, without the bus system, because that's how they get there. And so I am very, very supportive of the bus system. I can see some needs that aren't being addressed with the bus system. I'm not sure how handicap accessible they are. I'm struggling over snowbanks to try to get to the bus system. So I would like to just focus, I guess, on a bus system. We've got Uber and Lyft, and we have several taxi services. But I would actually like to work closely with the bus system to make it easier for people with handicaps to use the bus. I don't know how to do the snow issue. I don't know how to get those taken care of. Do we need heated bus shelters? Going to pay for that. So we have a lot to talk about.
Can you repeat the question?
Okay. Please address public transportation or lack of public transportation in Neenah. What can the city do to bring more public transportation to Neenah?
Yeah, that's, I'll have to say, I like the bus system. I actually took it in high school. I remember if I missed my regular bus, I could take the city bus to school. But, I am a supporter of it. To me, you need to have some alternative other than driving. The areas that I know people who have disabilities, they use the dial-a-ride. It can be, and their only complaints, though, is they have to give them a huge window, be ready an hour earlier, and they goes around, and then and same thing when they call and come back. Can we improve upon that dial ride? I'm not sure, but that would be some way to look at it, because yes, it is very hard when somebody has to book for a 15-minute appointment, book an hour before it, and then book a whole hour afterwards waiting at the doctor's to come back. But, to me, that's probably, in terms of what's really feasible, it's, kind of hard to, unless we have extra buses or anything like that at this point. We just don't have the mass. It's not like New York City. So, to me, the dial ride is probably what's, we should send funding for that. Maybe, we should take a look at it like everything. Is there a way to improve it? Because that's key for people that have disabilities or can't easily get around.
We have another Shattuck question. Other than the Shattuck rezoning, what is the most important issue to be addressed in the next term?
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I was waiting for that, Alex. Well, I think the biggest thing is probably just the budget. There is potential more money coming from the state, but we can't really count on that. But the one thing about the city's budget and its tax levy, it is very constrained by the state as to how much it can increase each year. And that is, squeezing us, because doesn't seem to be keeping up with inflation. And I think that's probably going to be, to me, the biggest challenge that Neenah's facing going forward. And I think a lot of new municipalities are going to be having the same problem as well, though. To me, we're going to have to either cut back, or we're going to have to, take a look, maybe audit departments to figure out, are we following best practices? Are we doing things to make sure that we're efficient? Because we have no metrics of whether we're as efficient as others. So it's going to be hard to deal with the future budgets, especially if inflation doesn't go down real quick. And I see that as clearly as the biggest challenge.
Gary?
Thank you. One of probably the biggest challenges that we're going to have coming up is for Public Works. Public Works is not only the city itself is struggling for staff, but Public Works, when we send out for bids, sometimes we have no bids coming in. And then what do? You have to wait. You have to send it back out again. You have to go over budget. We've got contractors that are telling us you need to be patient. There's a cement shortage. One of our contractors said, not only do we have a cement shortage, we've got 6 cement trucks in our lot with no drivers. So, thank you. So Public Works is probably going to be our biggest challenge. And I would say patience is going to help with the residents. Communication with your alderman about your issues on your roads and your sidewalks. Let us know what your issues are. But definitely, that's going to be a huge challenge coming up.
Okay, this is the last question, and I would like you to know that you're going to have 3 minutes if you need them. Use your time to rebut something your opponent said. Add something you didn't have time to say. Oh. Or address a topic we didn't ask. Harry.
Right. So, one of the questions I had in, I think it was the Post-Crescent, what makes you a better candidate in this race? So I've had, since 2011, I respond promptly to residents' calls and emails. And I proudly have been able to solve 99% of their concerns. And the ones I haven't been able to solve, obviously wasn't for lack of trying, but I remember them so clearly, the ones I haven't been able to solve, and they are still so supportive and so grateful, I guess, for the time that I have spent with them. My favorite thing is when you call and tell me that there's an issue. Whatever it is, each resident's issue is unique. There is not one blanket issue. It's not all potholes. Every single one is different. And when you call, I will call you back immediately and solve your problem. And that's part of being an alderman, along with this budget book, going through line by line. That's the other part of it. And very enjoyable, too, in our workshops. But I guess what I've been hearing is people want to be able to know what's going on. That's why you have an alderman. That's why you call. Call me. I will walk you through the process of signing up for the emails that you're interested in. I will be able to, you can sign up for any committee meeting you want. You can come to any meeting you want. I will help you through all of that. It's a little bit tricky to sign up for those emails. But the other thing is just, if you, I hear people and they don't call me. They don't call their alderman. They don't call the police. And I think, why not? We're right here. That's our job. We are ready and willing to help you. So please don't hesitate to call. Thank you.
Alex?
I will agree. That's a key function of an alderman. I think Carrie generally does it very well. I even heard that. I always hear a tale that she helped get rid of a dead squirrel in somebody's yard. I don't know if it's true, but but yes, I hear that. But that is definitely one. And though I think we also though have to just look at the bigger picture as well. I mean, I think my private sector experience could be very useful in the city council. One thing that I've always wanted, or I think we should look at, we should be benchmarking ourselves against other cities. Maybe we need to do some auditing of our different departments for best practices. Not all at once, but at least, maybe 1 year do public works and next year do something, another one. We should be knowing, how do we compare with other cities? I'd love it to be on the website, transparent. Put these same metrics on a website so people can tell, how do we compare with other cities? And I think transparency is always good because it generates questions. If we have a higher debt per citizen than other cities, we should know why. And we should be able to see, is it increasing at a higher rate? To me, that's all about transparency. I'd love to see it on our website, including, if we can do it. I've met with Jerry Kaiser on his brand spreadsheet of what roads are going to be done, and should that be on the website so people can just look it up? Maybe he needs some help. He's not an IT organization, so so to me, we should be looking at one of the key thing is how do we compare with other cities? We should have those benchmarks right on our city website for all to see, and and I think that my experience in the private sector could really be helpful in that area. And like on the Shattuck, it wasn't always the rezoning. It's just I was surprised at how little analysis was done on the Shattuck. A lot of people put a bunch of irrelevant statistics out there, and it's like I couldn't get away with that on anything I've ever done in my past jobs, in terms of kind of the sloppy kind of throwing stats out there that might not even be relevant. To me, there's a discipline in the private sector because we have to make a profit. We can't just squeeze our clients and here, pay more. And I think there's a discipline that you get in the private sector that I think I could bring to Neenah and make it a great city and keep it great. Thank you.
I want to thank the candidates for participating in this forum. The League of Women Voters supports an online voter guide called vote411.org. Voters are invited to go there to read answers to questions posed to their candidates. Election Day is April 4th. It's Tuesday, and the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. You may register using proof of residence when you go to vote on Election Day. Everyone must show a photo voter ID. Go to myvote.wi.gov to find information on registration, ballots, acceptable photo IDs, and polling places. I also wanted to thank the City of Neenah for the ability to videotape both of the forums tonight and for allowing us to use this facility. Please vote on April 4th. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Vote early.
Appreciate it.
Broadcasts of the City of Neenah Common Council meetings are produced by University Studios of the University of Wisconsin-Fox Valley. Neenah residents can get information about City Council meetings, City Committee meetings, meeting agendas, and other documents via the City website, www.neenahgov.org. Neenah residents can express their opinions about city issues or about these broadcasts by contacting the mayor's office, contacting their city alderman, or by completing the electronic feedback form on the city website, www.neenahgov.org. All public portions of the meetings are recorded in entirety and are not edited for playback.